before that, I was a special ed teacher. So I have a passion for students who have some challenges, and I also have a passion for helping students find their way to college. I want to thank the 5 wonderful people who also had to find a parking space today, who came out on their Saturdays to inform and inspire you families to learn about their colleges and programs that are like their colleges. We have, and if you just will put your hand up and give a little wave, we have Stephanie Levinson. She's Director of Admission at Elmhurst College. Her colleague, Dr. Tim Auberg, Director of Adult and Graduate Student Enrollment at Elmhurst College. We have Susan Losier, and she is Center for Teaching and Learning at Aurora University. We have Nancy Amacher, Center for Disabilities at University of Wisconsin-Whitewater. And we have Rio Almera, Admission Specialist at College of DuPage. So we have a variety of different schools, and I have asked them to cover the following topics for you. They're going to describe their school's program and services for students with special needs. They're going to tell you if there's a different application process for that school and any additional things that you might need to do. Any documentation that's needed at their school. Any additional costs for their programs at their school. And any additional information that will help you understand if it's a good match for you or your parent in here, your child. Hopefully you received all the handouts here, and if you didn't, please feel free to come back up here. If they're all in the front here, you're not going to interrupt us by doing that. We would like you all to have these handouts, so when the school speaks, we have that information for you. The first one is something that the Glenbards are giving you, and that is colleges with programs for students with learning disabilities. If your child has a learning disability or you have one, it just has programs that actually have comprehensive programs with learning for students with learning disabilities. The next worksheet is colleges that offer special ed programs. If you flip that over, it has resources and books. The first book on that resource is wonderful. It explains what kind of school might be a good match for your student. And you can get that at the library at most schools. Here at the Glenbards, I think they all own the book. Also, the next flyer or handout is post-high school education and training. This packet is the thicker one. You're not here to have me read this to you. This is phenomenal. It has wonderful information. If you read through this at your leisure time, it's going to answer a lot of questions that you might have. It is the thicker packet one. Post-high school education and training. It has about 5 or 6 pages. If you don't have one, you can come up and pick one up. And then finally, the last one, I just want to focus on that a minute before the colleges come up. Preparing students with LD or ADHD for college success. One of the things that's really important when any student goes to school, whether they have a special need or whether they don't have a special need, is kids have to understand technology, and you can look at what that means a little bit more in depth, because students have to get everything online and post everything online. Kids have to have the most rigorous curriculum they can have in high school to be successful at college. And then a really important skill is self-advocacy. So before your child, or before you, if you're just in here alone as a student, applies to college, they really have to know what their special need is and be able to articulate that and understand that. The difference between high school and colleges, in high school, you have an IEP. In college, you can get accommodations if you qualify and if you self-advocate for yourself. So those are the things that all of these colleges are going to discuss today how you self-advocate for yourself on your campus, on the campus that you might be interested in. All of these are pretty local. University of Wisconsin, I know, is over the border, but it's a very reasonable campus. Offers similar programs to Southern Illinois, I would say, but a lot closer. It's only a 2-hour drive. Well, I don't know, we came in the snow last night, so it was probably not that far. I mean, it was probably a little more last night, but anyway, so without further ado, I want to thank them all for coming. And we have one of our speakers that needs to be in Chicago today at noon. So we're going to have actually Elmhurst College come up and speak first. And then come up and Stephanie, okay. Thank you. We'll have some questions at the end too.
Good morning, everyone. I want to thank you for coming and spending Saturday with us today. Tim Alberg and I are going to split our 15 minutes together. I'm here representing kind of the traditional admission undergraduate program, and also I kind of serve as our office's liaison with our disability services coordinator. So I'm just going to talk a little bit and kind of go over the handout, which is just a blue handout. I kind of pasted together yesterday. First, I just want to talk about just very briefly the admission process, because I know every school is probably going to give you a little bit different answer in terms of to disclose or not to disclose. I can tell you our kind of take on things, of what we've done over the years, and I should probably first start by just giving you a little bit of background about Elmhurst College. It's in Elmhurst, which is only, I live in Glendale Heights, it's about a 20 to 25 minute drive for me every day. And we're a small private liberal arts college. We have about 3,300 students, of which about 2,800 are full-time degree-seeking students between the ages of 18 to 22. Our average class size is 18. It's not going to be any larger than 35. So if you know your student would fare well in a smaller setting, definitely think about Elmhurst as an option. And we also, we don't have teaching assistants. All of our classes are taught by faculty right from the very beginning. And so I'm always impressed when students come in and they can identify themselves as a learner and understand that being in a smaller setting is something that would be good for them. And so I would encourage you to have that conversation either with your child or for students to think about what kind of academic setting you think you might be most successful in. When we review applications for admission, and it is a separate process between applying for admission and then obtaining services at Elmhurst. From the admission perspective, and this is just our take on it, we don't really take into account any type of disability in terms of the admission process. And that's good, because we don't want to hold it against you, and it can't necessarily make up for things either. The admission requirements are the same for all students, and so you either meet those requirements or you don't. And so it's our preference that we're not aware of your request for accommodations in the admission process. But I will qualify that statement by saying every college might have a different take on things, and so you're going to have a few more questions on your list as you're researching colleges to ask those types of questions, because different schools are going to give you different answers, and you shouldn't assume that what I tell you is going to be the same thing that other schools are going to tell you. Once a student has been admitted, and they can certainly inquire, we have students all the time that will come in and meet with myself or one of our staff and ask about what the process is, and we're more than happy to talk about it, on an individual basis. Post-admission is typically when we encourage the student to submit their documentation to the Disability Services Coordinator. Her name is Maureen Connolly. I'm here kind of representing her and our office today. The way I like to explain it to students is kind of as in high school, your parents are more in the driver's seat in the car and you're a passenger. And in college, you guys get to switch roles and you get to be the driver and mom and dad have to be the passenger. And I know that's definitely a change in culture and in structure, but as Sue greatly said, being a self-advocate, that's one of the roles that you have to take on. And that's something that's a transition for all students when they get to college, is kind of being in that driver's seat and knowing how to navigate. And we want to start that process as soon as we possibly can. For documentation, there's no separate kind of formal application process that we have to obtain services at Elmhurst. And I should also point out that we don't have an additional cost for our services. We do what's required by law. We have, services. The difference between high school and college is in high school, you get every accommodation. In college, you get the reasonable accommodation. And those things may be the same, but they may be different, and that's just something you should be prepared for. Typical types of services that we offer are extended test time, private testing space, note-taking, but we also have services available through our Learning Center, and I listed those on this sheet as well. And those are services that are available to all students, and sometimes that might cover what you need. And you don't have to apply for specific services, but every case is different. Depending upon your needs, we'll either require that you submit recent testing based on adult norms and have some documentation from a psychologist, testing results, and the whole form, because it's a pretty big packet, is available on our website that gives the actual specific types of things that we're looking for. Just to give you some general information. If it's a physical disability, then we're going to need some medical documentation and take things from there. So students will submit this information to Maureen, who's our Disability Services Coordinator. She will take the time to read it and review it, and they do spend a lot of time reviewing this information and going over it. And then the student will come in kind of for an intake interview and meet with Maureen to kind of discuss, what's been going on at your past school. She will take a look at IEPs kind of as a point of reference, but IEPs aren't, we can't take those exclusively as the documentation because it's just not for the same thing. It's more specific to the governance in high school. But she will take a look at it because it might glean some information that would be helpful in determining services. Once Maureen meets with the student and looks at all the documentation, they'll kind of decide what accommodations would be best under the law. And then it's up to the student to kind of help enact those accommodations on a case-by-case basis. Some classes, the student will work with Maureen to identify with a faculty member, whether or not accommodations are needed for that class. I co-taught a class a couple falls ago. It was a freshman kind of seminar class with an English professor, and I know one of our students was getting accommodations, but she didn't need to enact them in our class because what she needed was extended test-taking time and private testing space. Well, we didn't do that in our class, and so it just wasn't necessary. And so you need to, the students will go over their syllabus for every single class to say, am I going to need accommodations in this class or not? And Maureen kind of helps the students navigate that. I wanted to just point out some, I kind of pulled some stuff off of our website of the differences between high school and college, and I think that's the biggest thing just to be aware of is that the laws do change. The student does get in the driver's seat, and so you have to work hard at communicating with parent to student to make sure everybody's on the same page, and I know that can be a difficult thing to do, but it really does benefit the student when they can advocate for themselves and talk to the professors and talk to the Disability Services Coordinator. We certainly want you to be a part of it. We don't want to exclude you. We just want to give the student the opportunity to learn some of these skills, which are necessary post-college graduation as well. So I'm going to turn it over to Tim because we need to share. And Tim is here representing the Elmhurst Learning and Success Academy, and he's going to describe this option at Elmhurst as well. Here you go.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Tim Olberg, and I'm actually from the Office of Adult and Graduate Admission at the college, but I also do admission for the ELSA program, the Elmhurst Learning and Success Academy. Now, this is a slightly different option from what was described by Stephanie. This is a non-degree program at our college. It's a 4-year college experience program for kids who learn differently, who might not normally have a college experience. So our admission requirements fundamentally start with the 3rd grade academic level, and we look at IEPs and we look at psychological evaluations and high school completion. And so we're really looking at the special ed population. So this may not be for everybody, but it might be for some of you. The way we do the program and what makes us unique is that and this pink sheet that you received has kind of all the details. But we do things in 3 areas over the course of our 4 years at the college. We have academics and career exploration, independent living skills, and social recreational skills. Our goal for our students who graduate is that they leave us with more ability to live independently, more ability or more access to better employment possibilities than might be typical, and to have a 4-year college experience at the college. The way we do that within our program is we do have an academic career track, so they have English classes and math classes and science and history, some of which reflects the Elmhurst experience and the same kinds of general education courses that an Elmhurst College student would have. But they also have a bunch of courses that deal with career expectations, career exploration. Some of our students come to us already employed. Maybe they work at Jewel, maybe they work at Starbucks or something like that. And so we try to get those students to start thinking outside the box and look into themselves for self-advocacy and self-determination and see what is it you want to be when you grow up. And then, you know, there's a lot of different kinds of answers, as you can imagine, that come to that. And so within the career exploration track, we work with our students in sort of doing the research, learning how to apply for those kinds of jobs. What is it people in whatever particular profession do? How do you write a resume? How do you do cover letters? All of those kinds of things. And then the independent living track is where we're dealing with financial smarts, cooking, healthy living, exercising, you know, living on your own. Now the program does not have a dorm piece, so our students don't live on campus. In fact, probably 70% or so of our population at the college do not live on campus, so we're largely a commuter program, as is ELSA. But in the program, we do a lot with trying to help prepare to live alone. Some of our students live on their own in apartments or live with roommates. Some of our students live at the Monarch Living program in town, which is run by Ray Graham. And some of our students are just looking for more opportunity to live independently at home. So this, in a nutshell, is a special education program at a college level. But our students are not in a special education department at the college. They're not in one corner. They don't stay in one classroom. Their classes are spread out around the campus. They have a schedule just like any other student at the college. They work very closely with a lot of our own traditional college students. I'm a faculty advisor for a program called the Peer Mentors Organization, which is a student group made up of traditional students and ELSA students. And they're there to help facilitate the social and recreational piece, and that can mean anything from joining clubs and organizations on campus to going to homecoming, to going to the football games, and taking a full role in the campus life of the college, which is pretty active. We have a lot going on at Elmhurst College, and it's a pretty exciting place to be. So we're trying to provide that experience. We're a private program, and we are a certificate of completion, so this is not a degree. Though there are opportunities for our students to audit some of our traditional classes, should they be qualified for, and we do have a small group of students who are dual enrolled at the college, who are in the Elmhurst Learning and Success Academy part-time, and they might be enrolled at the college full-time. Those students will have to make application through the same process that Stephanie described, but they do get the best of both worlds for the most part. So we're flexible, we're small. We have about 30 students in this program. And one of the new things that happened this year, for those who are really interested in, is up until this year, we had no access to the financial aid system. So it was a private pay program. We do have some limited grants that we've worked on raising for our students. But that could be a fairly large obstacle for some of the families interested in this program. This year, we finally had approval to have some access to the FAFSA system. So for those who qualify, our students can receive the Pell Grant, they can get federal work study, and we're going to pilot a program where parents can do the Parent Plus loan, because I'm sure you want more debt. But if you have any further questions about this program, this sheet covers all the basic ground. I did include a mail-in card, so if you're really interested, or if you know a family who is very interested or might benefit from this program, you can fill that out, drop it in the mail. We will send you an application package. And on March 14th, Wednesday evening at 6 o'clock, we are doing an information session all about this program. So if this sounds like something you're interested in, please join us on the 14th if you can, Wednesday night at 6 o'clock. My card is out here too. You can email me with questions. You can call if you like. I'm perfectly happy to do campus visits. It's a very face-to-face kind of program. Sue?
I have just one question. Is this, like, do you pay for Elmhurst College separately and then your program additionally, or is yours?
Well, if you enroll in ELSA alone, you just pay for the Elmhurst Learning and Success Academy. It has its own tuition program.
Okay.
If you're attending the college and the program, then yeah, you would pay the Elmhurst tuition and a small tuition, one class in ELSA, but it kind of would end up coming into the same one.
Okay, thank you.
I couldn't hear
Got your
you.
question, I'm confused. What is the difference?
Between the two programs?
I mean, when she said you can apply to,
Okay,
Elmhurst Learning and Success Academy is a separate program at the college. We're a non-degree certificate program, and it has its own tuition. If a student happens to be enrolled in both programs, you would pay Elmhurst College tuition as an undergraduate student, and you would probably pay for the one ELSA class on a separate tuition. Your bill, because it's all the same place, will still be in our student accounts office. But it's two different costs because the Elmhurst College tuition, or the ELSA program tuition, is a little different than Elmhurst College.
but ELSA is like a 4-year program in and of itself.
Yes. And if you just enroll separately in ELSA, it's its own thing. You do graduate. If you look in the back of that blue brochure, you'll see our very first graduating class. They graduate from the college with everybody else. So we try to make it as much like it's their major at Elmhurst College, but it's their own curriculum, it's their own program at the college.
Do you have wait lists or something for this?
Not yet, no. We're looking forward to that day.
So you say that it's only so many are allowed in?
We have approximately, we max out at 15 per starting group, but we average 7 to 12 when we start lately. So now that financial aid is available, I'm hoping to start to see an increase in population. But right now we have 30 students, so we're pretty small and we're only 7 years old, so it's fairly new.
And what did you say is going on next week?
Wednesday, March 14th, 6 p.m. is the Elmhurst Learning and Success Academy information session. I'll be conducting that with Dr. Lou Doty, the director of the program. Anything else? Cool. Thank you so much for giving me some time.
Thank you, Elmhurst. Okay, since we have this PowerPoint next, let's have University of Wisconsin. Is that all right? All right. So University of Wisconsin Whitewater is located not too far from Lake Geneva, correct? A little bit farther, 40 minutes farther. But again, a lot closer than Southern Illinois. Not that Southern Illinois is not a wonderful option too, but that is far away. So let's see how many things I can juggle at one time.
Excuse me. Well, thank you for having me today. Again, I'm from the University of Wisconsin Whitewater. UW Whitewater is typically what we go by, the Center for Students with Disabilities. Excuse me. And I did bring along, if you don't have a purple folder, as well as a copy of the PowerPoint. So what we, a little commercial about something coming up that we have in May. Let's see, hopefully the rest of it will here. Make this faster. Okay, on Friday, May 4th, we have a conference on campus. And it's, we're especially targeting sophomores and juniors with disabilities, their parents, teachers, anyone else who is interested in attending. It's there's no cost to the conference. The only thing we ask is that you pre-register. And we will have registration probably this week. It will go up on our website. So you can just go, it'll see Opening Horizons with kind of a sun, big sun logo there. But this is our 3rd year of the conference, and we have a wide variety of 4 different opportunities to attend. Each one has about 6 different breakout sessions on a variety of things. And it's not just, obviously it's on our campus, but it's just in general in terms also of looking at going on to college and what are different aspects of that. So I wanted to just mention that. Well, there's the link. I forgot that I had the fly-in thing, so let me just get this. So as far as the admissions application process, as some of the speakers have already talked about, in terms of UW Whitewater, we have an application for admission to the university. It's the same application for all of the UW schools, and it's an online application. And the university, of course, is going to look at things such as the high school transcripts and ACT or SAT scores, as well as essays that the students are submitting as part of the application. And we do at the university what's called a complete application review. And that means that they're looking at the whole big picture. So it's not just based on, okay, your ACT score or your class rank, but especially I encourage people with the essay part of it, students, to really look at that in terms of it's an opportunity to kind of tell about yourself, sell yourself to the university. So that's a really kind of a critical piece. Obviously, taking the courses that are required for college admissions as math, science, social studies, English courses. So students with disabilities must complete the same admission application as everyone else. And so the admissions office, just as the former speaker was saying, they're going to look at that as far as, you know, are you meeting the admissions criteria for the university. They also, one of the things that we talk about, we have a long history of disability services at our university. Our program started in the early 1970s. And we have a special mission within the university system to provide services to students with disabilities. So, so one of the things that, again, as any admissions applications, you'll see there's nothing on there that would indicate that you should check if you have a disability or not, because legally they can't ask that. But one of the things that we encourage people to do is to consider disclosing that, whether in their essays or as part of their application, because we don't consider that a bad thing to do. And I'll elaborate on that one more. So, and the reason why that is so somebody's applied to UW-Whitewater, the admissions office looks at that and they say, gee, we're sorry, you are missing some units, or in our total review you don't qualify for admission to the university. And they would send the student a letter saying, thank you for applying, we encourage you to start on a 2-year campus and then reapply as a transfer student. If a student has disclosed in their application that they have a disability, the admissions office will send a little different letter to them. It will say, we're sorry that we can't admit you right now, but you can appeal that decision by submitting some additional information. And that additional information would be your disability documentation, your first semester grades, 2 letters of recommendation from current academic teachers, and maybe an additional personal statement describing how your disability has affected your learning. And so what happens then is that the university, or that then we get into the process. So, and I'm the associate director of the Center for Students with Disabilities, so in case wonder when I say we. And so we then review the student's information, why they were denied admission, looking at that, reviewing their disability documentation, and then we make a recommendation back to the admissions office. And in that recommendation, we may also say that we agree that students should start at a 2-year campus and then apply as a transfer student. Or we may recommend what we call a conditional admission. Then the admissions office does another review and will say, yes, we're going to grant the student a conditional admission. As you can probably guess, when there are conditions, or conditional, there are conditions. So if a student is granted a conditional admission, they must attend, we have a 4-week summer transition program, and I'll talk about that in a few minutes, but in that program they are required to attend that program, and they are required to get a 3.0 or above GPA in the 2 classes that are a part of that. So there are some conditions, but it's giving the student an opportunity to take classes to prove that, yes, I want to have this chance, I can do college work. Okay, so in terms of being eligible for our services, very similar to, again, students must be admitted to the university, whether regular admission or conditional. And they complete an application for accommodation services. In the purple folder, you'll see a copy of that. So it's just a brief application that gives us some information about the student and services that they may have had or they're interested in having. And then they need to submit their documentation. And again, you'll see in the purple folder, there are all kinds of colored sheets in there that talk about the different disability areas and what types of documentation we require for those different areas. So I won't go into all of that, but again, one of the points that one of the previous speakers made in terms of current kinds of information is probably the key word in terms of documentation. So in terms, especially in terms of like a learning disability area, current assessments. So a student submits that information to us, and again, we're going to review that to determine if the student is eligible for services. And again, a key point that we probably tell a lot of people is the fact that just because somebody qualified for services in high school does not automatically mean they qualify in college. And because we're under different laws, because the laws at this post-secondary are all about equal access to materials, to curriculum, to activities, buildings, but they are not about success, they're about access. And that's a big difference from public schools where it's promoting, the IEP is promoting success. Not that we don't want students to be successful. So once students are eligible for our services, they're assigned to one of our staff members, and we set up that accommodation plan with them. And then each semester, the student would meet with that person to go over and look at their classes and which accommodations and services they'd like to use. So again, kind of, as I was mentioning in the folder, various disability areas that we would work with students. UW-Whitewater has a student population of 11,600 students. We're considered a medium-sized campus. Now in that 11,000 students, those are undergraduates as well as graduate students. Currently we serve just over 650 students with disabilities on campus. Again, I mentioned current and indicating the diagnosis. And then again, the other key thing about documentation at this level is we talk about functional limitations. How is somebody's disability limiting their ability to function, to learn? So that's a little different language again too than the public schools. We also really want to make sure in that documentation that there are recommendations for accommodations. And then we meet with the students, again, looking at what kinds of accommodations they've had. Again, probably pretty typical of most post-secondary schools would be the academic accommodations that we offer. And again, the biggest thing probably being in terms of differences, again, is students, some things they might have had in high school, such as being able to use notes on a test or modified tests, things like that. That doesn't happen in college. Same test as everybody else. They get to use their notes on the test if everybody else in the class gets to use their notes. And that was a good point in terms of, again, it's really important to look at what those differences are between high school and college. So besides requiring, again, any 2 or 4-year campus has to provide services to students who are eligible, those mandated services, those academic accommodations. Our campus also provides some services that are called non-mandated, so we're not required to provide those, but we have chosen to provide those services. And these are some of those programs. So because the university doesn't have to provide them, therefore they don't fund them. So these programs have a fee connected to them. So I mentioned briefly before the summer transition program. So that's a 4-week program in the summer before students start as freshmen at the university. Again, conditional admission students are required to attend Students who get as a regular admission, it's their choice to attend. In that 4-week session, basically the month of July, excuse me, the students come and live on campus in a residence hall with other college students taking summer school classes, and they're enrolled in 2 3-credit classes. One is a 3-credit study skills course that anyone can register for on campus during the academic year. In the summer, it's just students who are attending the summer transition program. The other course is a 3-credit class called Transitioning to College. Looks at a variety of different aspects of being a freshman in college and making that transition, as well as things related to being a college student with a disability, using those accommodations and services. And what does that mean? I mentioned about advocacy in terms of it's the world of independence, because at this level, we know if a student is registered with us if they have a disability, but we do not disclose that to their faculty members. The student has to disclose that. And the staff person works with the student to fill out paperwork that the student gives to the faculty member, indicating they're eligible for extended time for tests or note-taking and things like that. So we talk about that and the whole self-advocacy kinds of thing. So at the end of that 4-week session, the students have 6 credits at the university and an established grade point average. So again, the conditional admission students are required to have a 3.0 or above, and certainly we encourage everyone to have that as a minimum grade point average. So they start the fall already with an established grade point average. So for some of our students who got an A in both classes, they started the fall with a 4.0, which is a nice place to start when everybody else has 0 that first semester to start their classes. Another program I'll just mention is a program called Project Assist of our fee-for-service program, and that is a program that's actually been on our campus since the summer program's been there since 1985, as well as the Project Assist program. And so that program features unlimited one-on-one tutoring. So if a student wants to use that program, again, it's their choice each semester. It's the same application. We have one application that the student, again, initially completes, and it's not only for accommodations, but to see if they're eligible for Project Assist. And so the student then makes a choice each semester if they want to use Project Assist. And so, as I mentioned, unlimited one-on-one tutors. So if a student fills out, we have a contract they fill out, and if the student fills that out, then we assign tutors to them. So we have, as far as the one-on-one tutors, we have math tutors, writing tutors, study skills tutors, time management organizational tutors, and then we have what are called content area tutors. And those would be, our tutors are peer tutors. Those would be students who are majors, let's say in accounting, and they're tutoring somebody who's taking accounting courses. So those students would have already taken that coursework and of course done exceedingly well. And our tutors all go through training, ongoing, and not only initially, but ongoing on various learning strategies, study skills, we're very big at technology at our campus. So in our office, if there's something new in the technology, we have it. And so we show our tutors in terms of the different kinds of assistive technology. So besides, Project Assist is actually an area in our office, so students can come there and just study. It's open until 7 o'clock, Monday through Thursday, and then until 4:30 on Friday. And so in that area, we also have drop-in tutoring too during the hours that the office is open. So besides the one-on-one, they can utilize that. I won't really go much into the others, but we do have an adaptive transportation service. We have a large number of students with physical disabilities on our campus. And my plug for the day, we have the National Wheelchair Basketball men's team, and a women's team has just been established a few years ago. And then again, it's some of the students in terms of out-of-class aid would be another fee-for-service. And then rehab technology, again, really big on the technology aspect. So There's our contact information. It is on the PowerPoint. So I hope this was helpful to give you some background. I'll be happy to answer questions later after everything's done. Have them.
Thank you, Nancy. And I know some of you have, because of this parking, I understand, came in later, and Elmer's already spoke. Both of you have said that you'd like to speak to Elmer, so you will have many questions when you leave. Okay, Nancy, from Aurora University, they have a little different program. Again, they're not that far from us. They're commutable, or they have a wonderful facility with housing there too. So, thank you.
Hi, I'm Susan Lossier from Aurora University. I'm Director of the Center for Teaching and Learning and the Disability Resource Office. I'd like to tell you a little bit about Aurora. We're tucked on the west side of Aurora, right in the middle of a residential area. We have about 4,000 students. Sometimes we go a little bit above that, but we generally tend to stay right around 4,000. We have 6 residence buildings. We just finished our newest building, which is awesome for a school like us to continue growing. We're very excited about that. We have 4,000 students already. We have 40 undergrad majors and 34 minors, 9 master's degrees, and we also have 2 doctoral programs. One is in education, and the other is brand new, and that's in social work. We have 3 colleges, arts and sciences, education, and professional studies, and we also have, I think it's 60 NCAA Division III teams, and we also have intramurals. So we have a very active student body. The Center for Teaching and Learning is where we have our tutoring services. And those are available to all of our students across all levels, all disciplines. It is not a remedial center by any means. We encourage all of our students to come in and use the center. There is no charge for that. We're open 60 hours a week, so we can pretty much fit anybody's schedule. We're even there on Saturdays. We have 10 tutors currently, writing specialists, math specialists. They all have either master's degrees or their terminal degrees in their field. Many of them also specialize in other subjects. For instance, we have a writing specialist who works with students in history. She even teaches a history course at AU. We have a math specialist who works with biology, anatomy, and physiology. She's very popular with our nursing students, of course. And we work with students on organization, study skills, time management. Those are some major areas that students often come in as freshmen having no idea how to even approach that. And when they, especially if they live on campus, they're trying to fit all these other activities in. So it's good to sit down with them and get a calendar going, and then they can realize how much free time they don't have. And we can explain to them the difference between studying as it was in high school and now studying as it is in college, and how much time difference it really is. For our tutoring services, students can call us, come in, set up appointments. Some students prefer to set up a time or two for the entire semester, then they know they have that specific time. Others come in at the last minute. My paper's due tomorrow, I need somebody right now. We try to get them in if we can. But generally, students are pretty good about coming in ahead of time and setting their appointments. Also in the center is the Disability Resource Office, and we have no separate admissions process for that. Generally, students will give me a call or send me an email and ask me about accommodations, or we'll talk about what was going on in high school and how things may or may not be different in college. I look at documentation just as support for a request. I really don't focus on it very much. I do look at how current it is, but I mostly get my information from the student, and the conversation that we have is very important. I really listen to their ideas, and we talk about how things worked or maybe didn't work in high school, and how we can change things in school, how we can change the environment in college, not so much try and change them. And the two of us will then decide what may work best. If they start the semester and say, you know what, this really isn't working, Susan, we will absolutely revisit it. I'm not going to say, too bad, this is what's on your letter to faculty, you have to stay with these. No, that's not the way it works. For our students who would like to use distraction-reduced space, we don't say distraction-free because we're a very tiny office, and we try to be as quiet as we can, but the students will test down by us. Then we will need an appointment, of course. They'll need to make an appointment for that space. We have a testing center for those students who would like to use extended time. Generally, we start at time and a half, but it can always change depending on the class, depending on the test. Some students perhaps may need more time if it's an essay test and their learning disability is in written expression, so they may need more time, but then they wouldn't need more time, say if it was a multiple choice test. So that's something that we discuss for about each class, is what the testing is like, what the assignments are like, and go from there. We offer interpreters if a student comes in needing ASL. We also have note takers if a student would like support for their notes. We always encourage students to take their own notes, of course, but a note taker is there to help them fill in the gaps. Many of our instructors are now using what's called Moodle, and Moodle is a course management system, and they will post their own notes up on Moodle. And that's a benefit for all students to be able to review that lecture at any time that they need to and review the instructor's notes. And then they can ask questions of the instructor, ask questions of their fellow students if they missed something else. What else can I say about this? Oh, we do have a conditionally admitted students program. Those are for students who do not meet the 19 ACT or the SAT score, which is 910. So if they don't meet those requirements, or they're not in the 60th percentile of their class rank, then they can get into this program. They will come to campus 1 week before the rest of the population and work with different faculty and staff on campus on specific skills. So that's a great program. We have mentors who have previously been through the program, and they also stay with the students all week. They take a couple of trips. They work on computer skills, note-taking, time management, that type of thing. For more in-depth time management and organizational skills, then the students will come to the Center for Teaching and Learning for that. So if any of you have any questions, please feel free to, Sure.
I just have a question.
Sure.
I didn't catch the college, the name of the college.
Oh, Aurora University. It's aurora.edu. And my email is slausier @aurora.edu. Okay? And I work all summer too, so.
How come your college is not listed on the list of colleges of learning for programs for learning disabled?
We don't have a specific program. Some schools do. They have a specific program set up for students with LD. We don't have a program. What we do is modify the environment in the classroom so the student can have access to the material. So it's not a separate program. Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Susan. You're welcome. Okay, and last but not least, we have, first, I do want to just introduce one person, Janet Cook. She's just going to give a wave here. She is the Director of Special Education for District 87, and I just wanted, she's here supporting this wonderful event that you all are attending. Last but not least is a good friend of mine, Rio. She's from College of DuPage, and she is in the admission office. They do have a separate program that she's going to explain. And many of you will start at COD and maybe continue on to some of these Elmhurst or Aurora or University of Wisconsin-Whitewater. Many of you might start at the four-year college, but many students will start at College of DuPage, and we want Rio to explain their program.
Thank you so much, Sue. Again, my name is Rio Omaria. I am one of the admission representatives for the College of DuPage. I have acted as a liaison for many students with special needs. I do conduct a lot of the campus visits for a lot of our alternative school programs and also for the personal tours. So I do have a little bit of a background of working with students who are in need of special accommodations. Now, just a brief overview of what College of DuPage is all about. We are one of the largest community colleges there is in the entire nation. So to have that in your backyard is a wonderful thing because we have about 30,000 students in attendance. Now, despite the large size of COD, we do have a very small classroom setting. So for many students, especially those who are in need of any sort of accommodation, they'll find a lot of personal attention that will help them to succeed. Our student to faculty ratio is about 19:1, and we do not have any teachers' assistants teaching the courses. So our faculty are full-time or part-time staff, which all have master's degree or higher. So there will not be any TAs teaching any of the courses. Now, we are open enrollment. With us being a community college, we do not have a GPA or ACT requirement. So that is very helpful for many students who are thinking about potentially going into a four-year university and graduating with a bachelor's degree. Once a student starts at COD and they stay to complete a year's worth of college level work, about 30 credit hours, they're considered a transfer student, so they will no longer need to submit ACT scores or their high school GPA. The four-year universities, for the most part, will be looking strictly at the college work and the college GPA. So for many students, especially if they're receiving accommodations and they're able to perform well in their classes, that will increase their chances in admission and even potentially scholarships to several of these four-year universities. Now, along with the admission process, we do recommend that before any selection of the classes occur, that they do meet with someone from our Special Student Services office. Jackie Ruin and Katie Ricketts are the coordinators of this office, and you will find that we do have the brochures for Special Student Services. And once a student applies, and it is, again, open enrollment, they can start meeting with someone from this office. Generally, what they will be looking at is any sort of documentation, and they can range anywhere from an IEP. The junior year IEP is something that they have found to be very detailed and helpful, a 504 plan. They'll look at the academic history, and this is all conducted within the interview. Now, if a student did not have a disability diagnosed in high school, they'll also look at any supporting documentation from an outside agency. Once the documentation and the interview is assessed, a student is provided a blue card. This blue card is the self-identifier that the student will be able to use and show the instructor throughout their entire time while they're at College of DuPage. Each instructor knows exactly what the blue card means. That means that they're able to receive the accommodations that has been discussed with our Special Student Services office. The accommodations can range anywhere from note-taking paper, extended test time, isolated room. So many of the accommodations that you've already heard, so you don't want to be redundant, but those accommodations are also offered at COD. What's nice also is that placement testing is very important in terms of the college selection of courses and knowing the level of classes a student can get into right as they start college. So for those basic general education courses that everyone has to take, there are placement testing that will be required. At COD, after you submit your admission form and before you select your classes, you can opt on taking these placement testing early and receive accommodations as well. Having the test read to you, having that extended time, all of those things needed to help possibly, increase your increase your success of these placement tests. So that's something definitely to keep in mind. So it's really important that, especially if you do choose to go to COD, that this process with applying and also meeting with someone from the Special Student Services happens quite early. We recommend that the admission forms are submitted before, actually right now, many of the admission representatives, myself, Jose Alvarez, Adam Schauer, are actually going to all of the schools, the Glenbards, and actually promoting application days where we will sit down and help assist the students with their submission of their admission form. The application also can be found online. And once that COD ID number is created, sometime after May would be an ideal time where you can actually meet with someone from Special Student Services and you can actually start selecting your classes for your freshman year. Even though classes don't begin until August, we can start picking out classes for an incoming freshman as early as the end of May. So, which will really be helpful for many students because they'll be able to get the best test time, or the best classroom times, the most popular professors, you know, all quite early in the game. So with the selection of the courses and, you know, picking the best and appropriate times, we do also offer a lot of online and independent study courses that many students with accommodations have been found to take. So the classes can range anywhere from your traditional classroom and also the classes that could be taken online. And independent study classes are when classes can be split into lecture time plus individual appointments with the instructors where they're not being taught in a full lecture. So there's a lot of options that students are able to take in order, you know, to succeed in their classes. One of the things that I do want to mention that COD is quite known for is our Autism America. Research has shown that more and more students with autism are going into higher ed. So every Thursday of the month at 7 p.m., our Autism America groups meets at our student life area. This is really more just for a social and a support group. We've had anywhere from 60 to 200 students and parents attend this wonderful program. So that's definitely something that I would highly recommend if you have a student with autism, that you and your student attend that. We will be having our open house April 26th at 5:30. At our open house, you'll be able to meet Jackie and Katie, and they can talk to you personally because these are the ones that will be conducting a lot of the interviews and presenting the students with a blue card. And other than that, that's really, that's it in a nutshell for what COD has to offer with admissions and with our Special Student Services office. And I do thank you so much for your time and attention, and if you have any questions, I will be here.
Okay, so today you learned that there are different kinds of programs on campuses. There's programs like University of Wisconsin Whitewater has, as well as Elmhurst College. Southern Illinois University has the programs, as well as that list that you brought up. The list of schools that you received, those all have programs on campuses. College of DuPage and Aurora University have services. And remember, you're not bringing an IEP back to campus, to campus with you. You are learning what your accommodations are. You're going to be a self-advocate for yourself. Because it's amazing. I'm the parent of a junior in college right now, and when we started doing our college visits, those people don't look at you as a parent at all anymore. They all turn around and they talk to the student. That is it. They talk to the student. They don't talk to the parent. So that is why we are really stressing understanding what accommodations you do need, understanding the differences between programs and services, and when you are checking out the colleges, make sure you understand the extra cost involved in the programs and are they covered with financial aid. You want to find that out, which is great. We found out today that the program at Elmhurst, the ELSA program, is now being covered somewhat with some grant money from financial aid. So that's important to know too. Now we are going to, I think the best thing might be is you probably have some personal questions here. So we'll probably set the 4 schools up in 4 different areas in here. Unless somebody has a general question that might benefit the whole, okay.
I just have a general question. They said, make sure like the testing is updated, the kids' test scores. So like the psychologists, the testing, like what is current? Like how many?
And Janet, I don't want to overspeak. This is one that I'm not real familiar with too.
My daughter had hers freshman year, but that will be older if she...
So the question is current testing, especially for the program, the schools with programs.
I believe there's a difference between you want current eligibility paperwork versus current testing.
Right, if we're looking at,
It just strikes us this
sorry,
far.
I'll talk louder.
Can everybody hear?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. When we use the word current, when we're talking especially with LD documentation, we're saying that it shouldn't be older than 3 years old by the time they start at the university. And we want it to be done on an adult scale. So some of the students might have had the IQ testing, especially done on the child scale, but we want it to be done on the adult scale. So, and the good thing about that is that the closer it is to the time they're entering college, the longer it's good for them to be eligible for things because, for instance, at our university, we have a college of education, and so if students are looking to be teachers, they have to take some admission test as such for the College of Education, which is a standardized test, and if they want to get accommodations on there, again, they need to have that current documentation. And in the case of that, it's not only one test, but then it's a second test as they get closer to doing their student teaching. And if that documentation is older than 5 years old, by the time they get to that second test, they have to be retested. So,
And in college, it is the responsibility of the family
correct.
to cover that. So that's
I can
another
relate-
general question.
Please, I can relate, when you were talking about this diagnostics testing, are you talking about the comprehensive psychoeducational evaluation that you would get on your child to identify their strengths and weaknesses and recommendations?
Right.
That is the case at a program school.
Okay.
I'm not sure at your school too, at all program or services school.
Got it.
This is some of the things too, as the students get older, they get into college, and if there are additional testing, like being a teacher in a state and needing accommodations or other kind of maybe accounting type, CPA exam type stuff, yeah, whatever. Yeah, pardon me? Going on to graduate school, parents are going to have to cover those costs for those. See, because again, it's not a state mandate, it's a privilege to go on to college. Okay, so I'm going to divide you up. How about College of DuPage over